I was just traveling, as I always did, when I stumbled upon something shocking. Karen, the HOA president, was advertising my house for rent without my permission. But little did she know, she was about to be exposed to millions of viewers on my YouTube channel. Before we dive into this intense story, we have a small favor to ask. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see how far our stories reach. Smash that like button if you're ready for some mind-blowing content. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on our latest stories. Let's get into it. When you're a travel blogger with homes scattered across the U.S., keeping track of each property's status can sometimes be a challenge. But when I saw the ad, an ad for my own house up for rent without my permission, that was a new level of bizarre. The listing was bold, bright, inviting photos of my house, the cozy living room with its nautical decor, the airy kitchen with its sea green backsplash, and even the patio where I'd spent many nights stargazing. All of it was unmistakably mine, but the description was what made my blood boil. Charming beachside home available for short-term and long-term rent. Ideal location in a thriving community. Contact Karen at Driftwood Heights HOA for details. Karen. The name practically leaped off the screen. I knew who she was. How could I not? Karen was the self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood, president of the HOA, and a woman who had the uncanny ability to turn even the most mundane rule into a battle of wills. I had only interacted with her once during a brief visit when she informed me about the importance of lawn care regulations, despite the fact that I had a landscaping service in place. But this wasn't about lawn height or noise complaints. This was about my house. I stared at the ad again, my heart racing. How had it come to this? I'd only lived in the house for 2 months out of the year, popping in between trips. The rest of the time it remained empty, a peaceful retreat I could return to whenever I wanted. But Karen had apparently decided that my absence meant she had free rein to turn my property into a community piggy bank. I scrolled down and saw something even more outrageous. Karen had organized a neighborhood fair to showcase the house and take offers from potential renters. She was acting like she owned the place, advertising it as if it were her personal project. For a moment, I sat there, dumbfounded. But then, the familiar spark of content creation ignited within me. My YouTube channel had millions of followers, people who loved seeing me uncover hidden gems and navigate strange situations. Well, this wasn't exactly a hidden gem. It was a full-blown scandal. I hit record on my phone, capturing the moment. Hey guys, you won't believe what I just stumbled upon. So this morning, I'm scrolling through my phone, minding my own business, when, bam, an ad pops up for my house. Yeah, you heard me right. My house. Apparently, Karen from the HOA has decided that it's available for rent. I didn't agree to this, and as far as I know, no one's moved in yet, but Karen's already holding a fair to see who can pay the most for the place. You can't make this stuff up. And guess what? You're all coming along for the ride because we're confronting her. Stay tuned. With that, I stopped the recording and uploaded a teaser to my channel. The comments exploded almost instantly. What in the world? Karen strikes again. We need to see this confrontation now. The adrenaline was pumping now. I wasn't just going to confront Karen. I was going to make sure the whole world knew what she was up to. After all, nothing beats a little justice served in front of a few million viewers. After the teaser had stirred up enough buzz, I packed my essentials, phone, wireless mic, and the hidden body camera tucked neatly under my jacket. This wasn't just for content. This was evidence collection. If Karen was going to pull stunts like renting out my property without my knowledge, I needed to catch every moment. The drive to Driftwood Heights was short but tense. I ran through a mental checklist of what I'd say, but in truth, I had no plan. This was going to be pure, unfiltered chaos. I could already picture Karen's reaction, her wide-eyed surprise as she realized her scheme had been caught in the act. When I pulled into the neighborhood, everything looked peaceful, the kind of idyllic, quiet street where nothing exciting is ever supposed to happen. But today, that was about to change. Karen's house was easy to spot. It had the pristine yard, the garden gnomes strategically placed as if auditioning for a magazine cover, and the ever-present HOA flyers pinned to her front door like trophies. I parked, took a deep breath, and walked up the pathway. The hidden camera blinked green, indicating it was recording. I knocked on her door firmly. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time, and finally the door creaked open. Karen stood there, dressed in her usual pastel cardigan and pearls, the epitome of neighborhood respectability. But her expression shifted quickly, from polite surprise to guarded suspicion. She knew why I was here. "Ah, good morning," she said, folding her arms. "What brings you by?" I didn't waste time. "Karen, we need to talk. Now." She hesitated, her eyes darting around as if checking for nosy neighbors. "About what, exactly?" "About the fact that you put my house up for rent without my consent. Care to explain that?" Her lips tightened into a thin line, and she stepped aside, gesturing for me to come in. "Let's discuss this inside." I followed her into the living room, where the smell of lavender-scented candles was almost suffocating. She motioned for me to sit, but I stayed standing, arms crossed. Karen cleared her throat and sat on the edge of her floral couch. "I was going to tell you," she began, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles on her skirt. "Oh, were you? Before or after someone moved in?" I snapped, voice firm but controlled. The hidden camera caught every bit of her discomfort as she fidgeted. She sighed. "Look, this isn't as bad as you're making it sound. The HOA recently passed a new community rule regarding unused properties. Homes that sit vacant for long periods should benefit the community. Your house was perfect for this. Close to the beach, great location. We thought it would be a win-win." I blinked, barely believing what I was hearing. "A win-win? You're renting out my house, keeping the money, and calling it a win-win?" Karen raised a hand as if to calm me down. "Listen, the rule is designed to prevent homes from just sitting there and depreciating. The funds we collect go to neighborhood maintenance, events, and security. And since you're rarely here—" "I own that house, Karen," I interrupted. "You don't get to decide what happens to it when I'm away." Her face flushed, but she didn't back down. "This is about the good of the community. You have millions of dollars, don't you? Surely you don't need one house to sit empty. Why not let it generate some income for everyone?" My jaw tightened. "That's not how this works. I don't care what weird rule you passed. You don't own my house, I do, and you certainly don't get to profit off it." I wasn't done. I stepped closer, making sure she knew I wasn't backing down. "Delete the posting. I don't want to see another ad, another fair, or another stunt like this again." Karen's face was a storm of emotions. Anger, embarrassment, and defeat. Without another word, she grabbed her phone, tapped a few buttons, and muttered, "It's done." "Good," I said firmly, then turned and walked out the door without looking back. Once I got into my car, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I hit record on my phone and spoke directly to my viewers. "Dang, guys, did you see that? How does someone even think they can get away with this? Karen just waltzed into my life, decided my property was hers to rent, and acted like it was no big deal. The entitlement is unreal. But this isn't over. Tomorrow, we're diving into her HOA rules and community standards. I've got a feeling this rabbit hole goes deeper than we think." After signing off, I drove back to my house, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. Tomorrow would be a big day of digging into everything Karen had put in place. I was sure I'd find more skeletons in her HOA closet, but for now, all I wanted was some peace. The night was quiet, with only the faint sound of waves crashing in the distance. I had just settled into bed when a faint noise jolted me awake. I sat up, straining my ears. There it was again. A rustling noise, like footsteps on gravel. Someone was outside. I grabbed my phone, switched on the hidden recording app, and carefully approached the window. Peeking through the blinds, I couldn't believe what I saw. Karen. She was standing near my driveway, flashlight in hand, with a large plastic bag slung over her shoulder. She wasn't alone. Her friend, an equally prim-looking woman I vaguely recognized from one of the HOA meetings, was with her. Karen whispered something to her companion, then reached into the bag and pulled out what looked like a bundle of flyers? No, they weren't just any flyers. As she moved closer to my mailbox and the light from the street lamp hit them, I could see the words clearly. "Beware of this homeowner, uncooperative and selfish, causes trouble in the community." I felt my blood boil. She was plastering the neighborhood with smear flyers. Revenge, HOA style. I zoomed in with my phone's camera, recording every second. Karen and her accomplice moved quickly, shoving flyers into mailboxes and taping them onto fences and light posts. I could see the smug look on her face as if she thought she'd just won the ultimate battle. When they reached the end of my driveway, Karen paused and took out one last flyer. This time, she taped it directly to my mailbox. Then, as if satisfied with her night's work, she and her friends scurried down the street and disappeared into the shadows. I stayed by the window for a moment, letting the absurdity of the situation sink in. This woman was something else. Not only had she tried to profit off my house, but now she was trying to turn the entire neighborhood against me. Still recording, I whispered to my viewers, "You guys aren't going to believe this. Karen's not done yet. She's out here in the middle of the night posting flyers about me like it's some sort of smear campaign. Well, guess what? We've got it all on tape. Tomorrow, we're taking her down, and I guarantee this HOA is about to regret putting her in charge." I ended the recording and sat down, adrenaline pumping. Tomorrow, I'd start with the flyers. But tonight, I'd let Karen enjoy her last taste of victory, because the fallout was coming, and it was going to be glorious. The next morning, the sun hadn't even fully risen when I was already outside collecting evidence. The smear flyer on my mailbox was still there, flapping slightly in the breeze like some cheap horror prop. I ripped it down and scanned the message once more. The bold letters practically screamed, "Warning, neighborhood disturbance. Homeowner refuses to cooperate with HOA rules. Potential harm to community values." Below the text, Karen had printed a photo of my house, taken from the listing she had posted without my permission, and a small paragraph listing my supposed offenses. She made it sound like I was some kind of rogue homeowner threatening the peace of Driftwood Heights. I wasn't even mad anymore. This was gold for content. I recorded everything: the flyers, the early morning light casting a shadow over her handiwork, and a brief commentary for my viewers. Guys, we've reached a whole new level of Karen today. Last night, she and her little minion plastered the neighborhood with these flyers. She's trying to turn the entire community against me because she couldn't rent out my house. But you know what? We're not just taking down these flyers. We're taking down the whole operation. With my phone in hand, I hopped into the car and cruised through the neighborhood, collecting flyers along the way. Some were stuck to streetlights, others to fences, and a few were even scattered across driveways like fallen leaves. Karen had been thorough, but so was I. After collecting about a dozen flyers, I headed back home and spread them out across my kitchen table like I was solving a mystery. The more I read them, the more ridiculous they sounded. Claims that I was a selfish outsider, neglecting community improvement efforts, and even, get this, possibly dangerous to local harmony. I couldn't help but laugh. But this wasn't just about exposing Karen's flyers. I wanted to dig deeper into her HOA reign. So I pulled out my laptop, opened the Driftwood Heights HOA website, and started combing through their meeting notes and public documents. Within minutes, I found exactly what I was looking for. Karen's power wasn't just a result of her position as HOA president. She had created and pushed through multiple amendments over the years, giving herself more authority than any HOA president should have. One rule, passed just 6 months ago, stated that any property vacant for more than 60 days could be reevaluated for community benefit programs. It didn't explicitly mention renting out homes, but it gave her just enough loopholes to exploit. No wonder she thought she could get away with it. I recorded a quick update for my viewers. All right, here's the deal. Karen isn't just some overzealous HOA president. She's created a whole system of rules designed to give her control over properties like mine. This is bigger than I thought, but guess what? We've got all the evidence. Let's see how she reacts when we expose it. Satisfied with my progress, I decided to pay a visit to a neighbor I'd met a while back, Mr. Caldwell. He was an older gentleman who had lived in Driftwood Heights long before Karen took over, and he knew all the neighborhood gossip. When I knocked on his door, he greeted me with a warm smile. "Well, if it isn't the traveler, what brings you here today?" I showed him one of the flyers. His face darkened. "Karen's at it again, huh? I've been waiting for someone to stand up to her." We sat on his porch, and over a cup of coffee, he shared stories of Karen's past exploits. She'd fined a single mother for leaving her trash cans out for an extra hour, banned certain types of garden gnomes for disrupting the aesthetic, and once tried to block a neighbor from hosting a family reunion because it would be too loud. But the renting your house stunt? That's new, Mr. Caldwell said, shaking his head. She's getting bolder. Well, she picked the wrong target this time, I replied. I'm not just here to fix this for myself. I'm going to expose everything. As we wrapped up our conversation, I had one final question. Any idea if the HOA board members are on her side, or could they be convinced to turn against her? He smirked. Oh, I think they've had enough of her too, but they're scared of the power she's accumulated. If you can make this public, though, they won't have a choice. That was all the encouragement I needed. I drove home, fired up my editing software, and spent the next few hours compiling everything: the confrontation, the midnight flyer escapade, the HOA documents, and Mr. Caldwell's testimony. I titled the video, "Exposing the HOA President Who Tried to Steal My House Full Story," and hit upload. Within minutes, the comments started flooding in. "This is insane! How does she still have her position? Karen's reign is over. This feels like the climax of a true crime documentary. Petition to have you replace her as HOA president." The video went viral faster than I'd expected, and by noon, local news outlets were reaching out for interviews. I had a feeling Karen's phone was blowing up too. That night, as I sat on my patio watching the sunset, I received a text from an unknown number. "Karen, we need to talk. Please don't do anything drastic." I smirked and put my phone down. "Oh, Karen, we're way past that point. Tomorrow, I'd meet with the HOA board and present everything." Karen's reign of terror was about to end, and I couldn't wait to see what happened next. The next morning, my phone buzzed with an email that made my heart skip a beat. The subject line read, "HOA Governance Review Request, Community Investigation." It was from the State Housing Authority. Apparently, they'd received numerous complaints from residents following the viral video, and they were launching a formal investigation into Karen's management of the Driftwood Heights HOA. I wasn't the only one who'd had enough. My viewers had taken it a step further by flooding the local authorities with tips. By noon, my doorbell rang. I peeked through the window to find two sharply dressed officials standing on my porch. One was holding a clipboard, and the other had an authoritative air that screamed, "No nonsense." I opened the door. "Good afternoon," the man said, extending a hand. "I'm Agent Harris with the State Housing Authority. This is my colleague, Miss Ramirez. We'd like to discuss the issues involving the Driftwood Heights HOA." I invited them in, and within minutes I was showing them all the evidence. Karen's unauthorized rental ad, the flyers, the HOA documents highlighting her overreach, and the hidden camera footage of her midnight flyer escapade. They were particularly interested in the rule amendments Karen had pushed through over the years. "This is a clear abuse of power," Ramirez said, flipping through the documents. "She's effectively created her own dictatorship within the HOA." Harris nodded. "We've been getting complaints about Karen's conduct from several other residents this morning. It seems your video encouraged others to speak out. We'll need to pay her a visit." I couldn't help but grin. "Do you need me to come along?" Harris chuckled. "No, but I wouldn't be surprised if you heard the fallout from a block away." About an hour later, I got a text from Mr. Caldwell. "Karen's got company. They're at her house now." I grabbed my phone, stepped out onto the porch, and sure enough, I could see two official cars parked in Karen's driveway. From where I stood, I couldn't hear the conversation, but I could see Karen pacing back and forth on her porch, gesturing wildly as the investigators calmly stood their ground. It was a beautiful sight. By evening, the HOA board issued an emergency statement on their community website. Effective immediately, Karen is suspended from her role as HOA president, pending the outcome of a formal investigation by state authorities. We are committed to restoring trust and fairness within the Driftwood Heights community. The next day, my phone was buzzing again, this time with reporters wanting interviews and residents thanking me for standing up to Karen. One neighbor even dropped off a basket of homemade cookies with a note that read, "We've been waiting for this for years. Thank you." Later that evening, I recorded a final update for my channel sitting on my patio with the ocean breeze in the background. Guys, we did it. Karen's reign is officially over. The authorities are involved, the community is free, and the HOA board is making changes. It just goes to show, when you stand up to bullies and document everything, you can make a difference. To everyone who supported this journey, thank you. But who knows? Maybe this isn't the end. There are plenty of Karens out there, and if they show up, you know where to find me. Thanks for watching. If you've had similar experiences or just want to share your thoughts, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories like this. It's very important for us.